Hi, Corey. Thanks for doing this interview. I appreciate you taking the time. I do have some questions. As you know, my students have sent me questions to ask you specifically. Um, so I'm going to ask some of the questions. I'm going to go through. I haven't gone through and actually broken them down. Like there were quite a few that were very similar, but for the most part, I'm just going to kind of scroll through and look at some of them. So I appreciate you taking the time.
No problem.
Probably the first question, and this one is kind of very similar to probably like three or four other questions, but it's a little bit different. So, what is your dream project? I know it's a little bit tough. I probably should have started something a little bit different, but go ahead.
I'm not sure if I have a dream project. I just never really thought about that, but I have a lot of ideas, I think, but they're just part of the process, I guess. As being an artist, you're always thinking of different things, so um, you always want to create what you envision. So I don't really have a dream project, but I guess if you do have a project, it has to be associated with money. A lot of projects require a lot of money, so sometimes you can't create them because you just don't have the funding.
Well, while you were talking, sorry to interrupt, but while you were talking, I remember a couple of years ago you were talking about wanted to write some stories or movies or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, I'm doing it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've been well trying to do it because I'm not really experienced, but I brought a few books, saw a few videos, and I was gonna take a class, but I think it counts as a class. So yeah, I mean it's like anything I do, I just learn how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, just
Is it
there's
like
a lot of information out there, so you just have to learn, and there's a learning curve, and you just go about it.
so is that a dream project or is that just something that you want to do? It's not necessarily a dream project.
You know what? If I have one, that is one.
Yeah.
That is one. Yeah, I would say that is the dream project
Is that writing
because
story?
it's out of my element, I guess. You know.
Is
So
that
yeah,
is that writing short stories or is writing film like screenplays?
both,
Yeah.
both. Yeah, I write a few short stories. I never really finish them because the story takes off, and then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna finish this, but it's part of the process. I know eventually I'll
Yeah.
finish a few of them, which helps, you know. But I recently I decided that no matter whatever I do next, I'm gonna finish it regardless of the outcome. So I decided that about a week ago. I said, hey, I need to finish something. So, and that's why I went back to the screenwriting. So, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna finish it because I started it, I didn't finish it. And so
That's a you
I
know
made
that's a huge step is actually finishing something. Even if it's not that good, even if you're not proud of it, at least if you finished it, it's done. You have gone through the whole process. So I mean I think that's really an important step.
yeah, it's valuable. I mean, you learn a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I've done projects and I wouldn't say I finished them 100%, but I probably finished them 95%. And I saw what worked, what didn't work, and then I just started again. So
It's somebody
that's a good
like
thing. I think you always learn from even if you make a mistake or learn a different process. So
yeah,
yeah, just go through the process.
I agree. Okay. What do you dislike about the art world? I love this question. What do you dislike about the art world?
Uh, the money, the money involved in people taking advantage of artists, the money, like second market value of artwork, people who buy art for investment. I don't like that part. I don't like a lot of galleries are just businesses trying to make money. So the artist really doesn't, up and coming artists or artists that's not really established, that really lives month to month off their artwork. And the galleries just take advantage of it. But if you're established and you bring in a lot of dollars, you can kind of call the shots. And so,
yeah, a lot of times.
And then again, you don't. When it comes to that point, you don't really need a gallery or,
yeah,
you know. So it's the in between that's trying to take advantage of artists. Not everybody does that. I mean, some try to help artists, but
I mean,
there are a lot that's the business.
A lot of times it's like the Walmart of art. You know, they get the artwork in, they get a commission, and all they care about is like selling something.
Right. And they really won't deal with you unless they feel they can sell it.
Right.
So, and I understand it's a business, but, you know, I mean, some galleries take 50, 60%. And a lot of people wonder why art is so expensive. Well,
it's not going to the artist.
You buy from a gallery, it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
That's why they should buy from artists.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. This one is related to money as well. If money wasn't an object, would you still have used cardboard as a medium? If not, what do you think you would have used?
Oh yeah, I would still use cardboard. I really didn't go when I started using cardboard. I didn't go into it because of the money. I went into it. I started using it because it was just so much of it. It was just available everywhere, and so I was like, "Oh, I can do something with this," because I would never run out of it, you know.
Yeah. And
of course, you don't have to pay for it, but the initial thought wasn't the money of buying art supplies or anything like that. It was because it was relatively available for me, and you know,
yeah,
it was right there. You just go to a dumpster or a recycle bin, and you can find it.
You know, in the interview that we did, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, you talked about that you didn't paint the cardboard. You said you made a comment about, you know, why would I paint it, kind of thing. Why would I paint cardboard? Why not just paint directly on something? And the thing is using the cardboard gave it an extra texture, gave it an extra element, which makes it a little bit more unique, a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to paint it, I would just find a canvas and paint, you know, the canvas.
Right.
But, yeah, I always get that cardboard is the color that was found. I guess they call that intrinsic color. Yeah. The color of the material. That's exactly what it is. I didn't paint it. I didn't dye it. I just found it. Now, there was times when I wanted specific colors, and I had to go search. And there were also times when I saw colors that I knew was hard to get. I would grab it. Wherever it was, I just got it. So.
What do you mean? Like if you saw cardboard in a store or something, or?
Yeah, like one time I was in Walmart, and it was like back to school, and they had this yellow-orange, like pencil color.
Yeah.
And they had these boxes full of pencils. like in bulk, and so you supposed take your box of pencils, and so I would just empty all the pencils out, put them in another box, and take the box.
I don't want the pencils. I want the box.
Yeah. So, yeah, there were times when I saw colors that that were unique, and I was like, I saw gold boxes and things like that, and so I just like, I had to grab. Even if I didn't have anything in mind, I knew I had it available if I was going to use it. So,
right.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. As an artist, what is something that you have learned from pushing yourself to use limited resources?
You pull creativity out. You think of ways to use the material. I love not having all the resources because I think it makes you a better artist. It makes you dig deep down in yourself and find that creativity. I mean, if you have money, you can create anything you want. To be honest, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some artists, they don't even actually create the art themselves. I mean, I don't have a problem with that, but I don't have that type of money, so.
Right. Well, that's something that goes along with life in general. If you have to struggle to reach a certain level, you respect what you have done. The people who don't have to struggle, who don't have to go through the challenges, they don't really respect where they are. At least that's my opinion. Yeah, to somebody with money, but if you're a struggling artist and you don't have the money to buy the supplies, doesn't it make it special that you create something that's very unique without being able to just go and buy whatever you want? Like, for example, dumpster diving versus just going out and ordering different colored cardboard. Doesn't it make it?
And I guess I can go back to what I said, about the cardboard. It wasn't about the money,
right?
But to be honest, I did want to go buy paint, So I figured like there's another way, You if you can't buy something, you don't limit yourself. You find another way. Like if you're a painter, you can't buy paint. You think of another way to create art.
Right.
You don't say, I can't paint because I don't have paint. There's only two things you can do. You can choose another medium, or you can learn to make paint.
Right.
You find another way. You don't just accept, I can't buy paint, so I'm not gonna paint.
Right.
I don't understand.
But getting back to the challenge, to me, the challenge is what's important. I always look at people who, and because I've done a lot of traveling, there's always been something in the back of my mind. It's like, I could afford to fly to Venice and stay in a nice hotel and do everything that the tourists do, or I could go take a 12-hour train trip, stay in a hostel, backpack my way through, and to me, the struggle was more. I don't know. It just validated the trip more. I'm just not into spending money to get exactly what I want. Does that make sense? And as an artist, you could have gone out, and you said that money was not an issue. You could have gone out and bought the colored cardboard that you wanted. But instead, you went and you searched for it. And there was days that maybe you wanted a color, couldn't find it, maybe you made do with a different color. Do you know what I mean? The struggle.
Oh, yeah.
The struggle.
I waited it out until I found the color. I did that plenty of times. Like, okay, I have to stop here because I want this specific color. And, it sat for maybe a few weeks, a month, and then I found it, and I was like, okay, now I can go back to it. But I just didn't stop. I moved on to another piece,
right,
to work with.
Doesn't that make it more valuable, though? At least, from my perspective, it does. What do you think?
It has a personal value, but everybody else don't see that. and so their value is different from your value.
Okay, well, I think we're talking about two different values. We're talking about the value of art versus the value of creation. What was the art to you, and what is the art worth to somebody else? Somebody else doesn't really care that you spent 2 months trying to create this perfect color work that you had done, right? They don't care. They care about that end cost. For you to create it, wasn't it more? I guess.
Oh, it was a big deal for me because those cardboard pieces didn't just happen. It
Right.
probably took, to be honest, probably took 2 years for me to develop a technique to do that. And so I had the idea, and I was just experimenting and doing things. And then, and if you ever look at the first ones compared to the last ones I did, they're totally different. The skill level is better. The technique, the materials, everything. Because I learned about cardboard. I learned how to preserve it. I learned how to manipulate it, and it was just the whole process. And so yeah, that has a lot of value. And I think, well, I know I'm appreciative of that. I pulled out some of those pieces actually yesterday. They were in the closet, had them wrapped up, and I was looking, I was like, man, sometimes I'm like, man, I'm surprised. That's pretty good for, I was proud of myself, to be honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? From the first ones, it was just terrible. Like I had an idea, I was like, how am I going to do this? And so I just kept with the process, finding different like glues and other things, and yeah.
Okay.
It's not like you would think, like when you see the finished product, it was a lot behind those pieces. It wasn't just one day I had an idea and it happened.
Right. And that's my
a lot of times the easiest thing, like I've done things like, why didn't I think of this 3 years ago? It was like, it's so obvious, but at the time you don't know that.
Right.
You have no idea.
Yes. There's a progression. You have to get to a certain point to figure certain things out.
Yeah.
Okay. When creating a large-scale sculpture, what is your planning and creative process, and how long does it normally take you? They're probably talking about the guns, the ray guns.
Oh.
The ray guns were the final part of that, right? Because you did regular guns.
The ray guns were the back end of the guns. It wasn't the beginning of the guns.
Right, that's what I mean. It was the final part of it. So they're probably talking about the ray guns.
That was an idea because that I had, and I thought I could do it, but I didn't really know. Like a lot of people, like, oh, you know how to do upholstery? I'm like, no, I don't. I didn't know anything about upholstery or anything like that. But I learned a lot as far as upholstery, different fabrics, prints, and all that stuff. But I had that gun idea for a while, and I had to ask myself, why would I make a gun? Right. Like, I wasn't going to just make a gun just to make it because just to have. I didn't have a reason to do it.
Right.
And then, a lot of gun violence started happening. And then that became the point where I was like, okay, now it's time, because it's not that I'm celebrating the gun. I'm basically emasculating the gun.
Right.
And so that was the moment. And so I started, and that's another one that I didn't have any idea how to do that. And I created like a 5-foot gun.
5 foot?
5 foot long gun. 5 foot, because I like working in a larger scale, but
5 foot, that's like huge.
Yeah, it was going to be a floor piece.
Yeah.
And I kept developing, like, okay, how I'm going to do this, what I'm going to do this with, and that's one that I got to a point, I was like, everything wasn't great, but I was like, oh, I know I can do this. I just have to fine tune it.
Right.
And it came about, and I reduced the size. And to be honest, the bigger ones are easier because, if you have big hands, it's hard to make really small ones for me. So if you're making I made a 6 or 7 foot one that it came about really easy.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know, but I just remember as a kid the 38 special,
right,
the revolver, and I used to watch the show Beretta. When I was a kid, he was a cop.
Yeah.
And I think he had that gun, and that's why I chose that. And so I just looked up images. I looked up diagrams of guns, how they were made, and kind of sketched it out. Kind of thought about how I would create this and everything I need. That's another thing. Depending on where you live, like here, it's not a lot of places you can go out and just buy something. Like here it's an ordering town. Like you got to order things. Amazon is great for this place, but I was like, okay, I have a Lowe's and I have a Hobby Lobby. And so I know what they have and I know what I could get.
Right.
So, yeah.
How long does it usually take?
I learned a lot about home. I learned a lot about, I brought some tools. Like, I'm going to need a tool for this. And now I went back to them because I got a 3D printer and there's some, another technique that I'm just experimenting that's going to make it a little bit better. So, yeah.
How long does it usually take to do one of those?
2 weeks.
Is that like working 4 hours a day or 8 hours?
That's not working. That's not working all day at it. That's working probably 3 hours, 4 hours a day. Now, there are times I've had like plenty of time off to work on them. I've made them in like 3 days, but that's working from the morning to night.
Right.
So
it's like when you get obsessed. It's like I'm gonna get this done. You get all into it, and you want to.
Because I had a show coming up, and I was like, oh, I gotta crunch these out, and those actually turned out to be pretty good as far as the craftsmanship. I was like,
yeah.
But what I did, I got to the point where I was making 3 at a time of the same style.
Yeah.
So you just, and that's another thing when I switched different styles, like dueling guns, like
right
1800s and things like that. You have the process, but each gun is different, so you have to adjust your process to it.
Right. Okay. I thought your opinion of you creating art for the public very interesting. Is there a reason why you feel you create more for the public rather than yourself?
Yeah, I think the creative process is basically for me. If you're a creator, you have to create. It doesn't matter.
Right.
You're gonna create. Even if it's music, even if you cook food or whatever, it's just in you.
Right.
But the process and the creativity is for you. The finished product is for someone else.
Right.
Like say, if you're a chef and you cook, you eat your own food, but you do it for someone else to eat.
Right. The goal is to have somebody kind of pat you on the back, and say, "Wow, this food is really good."
Yeah, a lot of times, I don't, some artists, I don't care if they like it or whatever. But,
right.
You do want somebody to like it,
Yeah.
Yeah. You can be happy with the finished product, and if it's good work, less what someone else thinks.
Right.
If you had enough people say, "Oh, that's good work," you know, the other ones don't matter.
Right.
They don't matter to me. I'm like, oh, I had a few people I know that knows what good work is, and so that's enough for me.
Right. Okay.
But when about the public, I mean, I think that all artwork should have everybody's not like this, but I think it should have a purpose. It's just like when I said about the gun, like I had the idea for the gun, but I wasn't going to make a gun sculpture because I'm like, why would I just make a gun sculpture? It's useless. But then it had a purpose. I had a purpose to make it. And
right.
The existence of the gun had a purpose. Not just to have something pretty or, you know what I mean?
Right.
Something unique, but it had a purpose.
Sometimes it's just about the creation process. I mean, sometimes it's just like you remember way back when I was doing animations, right? Remember way back 1998 when I would be animating all the time?
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't care if anybody saw it. I just wanted to fulfill that in my head. I just had to get that spaceship or whatever it was that I was trying to animate finished.
Yeah.
You know, so the end result didn't really matter. It's just I had to try to do it. I had to see.
You have your own standard.
Right.
And you're like, I know I can do this. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go through the process. And to be honest, it doesn't matter if someone likes it or not.
Right.
You know, it's because you knew what you had to do to create it.
Right.
You know? You didn't quit. You researched. You learned the process. You know.
It was always better though. It was always better when somebody said, "That's really cool."
Yeah.
You know, it's always when somebody pats you on the back. It's always much better when somebody gives you some sort of, you know, affirmation.
Yeah, I mean, that can be a double-edged sword too, because I mean, some people have said I thought that they thought something was good. I'm like, it's not. You know, you can't get caught up in it.
Yeah,
you really can't. You're like, oh, that's terrible work, and you know, it depends on who's saying it too. So,
okay, how much time do you devote to the creative process prior to doing your work? What is your process while deciding and before starting a new project? Like, that's a little bit of a tough one. What is your process while deciding and before starting a new project like? I guess before you start a new project.
I mean, you have an idea, you know, but you have to ask yourself, I think all the time you have to ask yourself why you're doing it.
Right.
Because that's going to answer the question, is it worth your time, first of all? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Why are you doing it? Is it worth me doing? And so, I don't ever go into it just to create something. To me, like I say, it always have to have a meaning. So I do a lot of research. You know, the thing about it, like I read a lot of books and people's philosophies and ideas, and that kind of carry you to creating something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you read, you learn, and then you come up with ideas. And then you do more research, answer the question, why would I do this? You know, I mean, some artists just, you know, like create beautiful things, and that's their reason for doing it.
Right.
You know, but me, it has to have a deeper meaning in it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and the next question kind of goes along with that. With the recent protests and political events, are you planning on or are you in the process of making any artwork revolving around such subject matter?
No. No.
No. Why?
No, because it's easy to do because of the situation, because of the moment.
Right.
And then I think a lot, like I look on Instagram and people start like create portraits of like people who've been killed or they got, I don't want to be in that group.
Right.
I'm not creating this because of the moment.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so, no. So I just would find another purpose for doing something.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, it's one of
the... It's just easy. It's easier to do. Like, it's like when someone dies, you see all of these pieces of artwork of that person. Like when Kobe Bryant died, you saw Kobe Bryant paintings, drawings,
Right.
I mean, it's nice, but there comes a point where it's just everybody's just doing it.
Right. Well, there's two things the way I look at it. One is kitsch. It's done for I wouldn't say commercial reasons, but it's done to capitalize on an event. And the other is
situation.
Right. The other is it's low hanging fruit. And what I mean by that, it's a valuable opinion or a statement, but it's so easy to do. It doesn't challenge you. You don't.
Right.
You don't really struggle. It's not creative. I mean, it is creative, but it doesn't challenge you as an artist.
Right. I agree. And no, it's just those. I'm not gonna be an artist for the moment. And yeah.
Right.
Like when I was doing the cardboard, to be honest, I was trying to see if I can do it.
Right.
I didn't have a subject matter, and then I'm not really a portrait artist. I didn't think I was, and then like, okay, if I'm gonna be a portrait, what person would I do? Like,
right?
I hold high esteem to certain people, and I'm like, I don't know who I would do, because I can easily. Like, at that moment I was making those, whatever was happening for the moment, I could have did that.
Right.
But, like, my first one was Muhammad Ali, because I thought, I was like, he's probably the perfect person to do, And so then I went finding other people.
You did a George Bush.
To be honest, I got to a point where I ran out of people that I thought was worthy of it. I did people like James Baldwin,
yeah,
and people who I thought were like at a level that they were at the highest level of what they did.
Yeah,
they weren't like perfect people, but they were people who
reached a level.
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Seeing as you move from medium to medium, which one has been your favorite to work with?
Oh, man.
All of them. When you're working in a cardboard, that's the cardboard,
Yeah.
You're working in the... you just got a sewing machine for Christmas, though, right?
Yeah. I did.
So upholstery...
That's the thing about switching from different mediums. It's always a learning curve.
Right.
You got to learn how to do something new.
Right.
You got to learn how to do this. You got to learn how to do that. And you got to learn, like, different, like, glues. And you just have to learn what works for what you're doing. That's the toughest part.
So which is your favorite?
You got to put a lot of time into it. What's that?
What's your favorite? I
don't really have a favorite.
Do you ever think about going back to the cardboard or doing, the guns? Well, you were doing masks for a while, but I don't think I have any photographs of the masks up on the website.
Oh yeah, that was a long time ago. That was the original cardboard.
Right, that was like 2000.
I can see some images of those, and that was definitely a challenge.
Yeah,
that was a challenge. and I was proud of that too.
Yeah.
Not the finished work, but
The process.
that I was able to do it. Yeah,
Right.
the process.
Yeah.
And I forget, to be honest, I totally forgot about those. But that led to the cardboard portraits. So what I was trying to do was be a painter without using paint. That's
Right.
what I was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what do you consider to be your favorite so far? Because you've done the mask, you've done the cardboard, you've done the upholstery, the guns.
Mm-hmm.
Out of
I've
those
done
three.
found objects too. That's probably my most.
Found objects.
Even though I mean the cardboard is found, but it's not. It's
Right.
one medium.
Right.
But it's when I do the found object sculptures. That's what I really like.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that. Yeah. I've done it in a while, but yeah, just finding things and manipulating and putting them together in a certain way that's really strong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just something you threw
Right.
together, but yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there an ultimate goal that you would like to reach with your art?
Yeah, I would like for it to reach more people because, like I said, I create for a purpose, and I want that purpose to be shared with as many people as possible. I want as many people, not necessarily not to buy it or whatever, but to see it and have like an emotional connection to it.
Okay.
That's what I would like for my work to be.
With the colorful handcrafted fabric guns, do you find yourself painting them in acrylic painting during your free time?
Do I paint them?
Yeah. Do you? I don't think she means painting the fabric guns, but painting guns in your free time.
No. I mean, I started off as a painter, and I haven't painted in years. And what I have done is like with the ray guns, create like diagrams. I'm big on like diagrams and schematics. So I made these like fictitious ray guns, of course, but I give like parts of them like this is a diffuser. This is a knob that changes the
power setting or something.
Yeah. I've done diagrams for them. Yeah.
So
I love diagrams.
I mean, going based on this question. So basically, it's not the ray gun; it's the process of creating this big gun. Right? Because, I mean, could you get the same effect if you painted the gun?
No.
It wouldn't mean the same thing, would it?
No.
So
and it would mean the same thing if I guess I made it out of material that was like conventional, I guess.
Yeah.
If you did it out of plastic and like a toy ray gun or something, I don't think it would be the same either.
Right. So it almost has to be, 3D. It has to be fabric. If it was acrylic paint or oil paint or something like that, it just wouldn't have that same feeling. No. It wouldn't be substantial.
Yeah. Yeah, your materials make a big difference. Yeah. It has a big purpose.
Okay.
In what you do if you're doing it.
Okay. I heard you say that these were made out of overcoming a fear of guns. What reference do you use to perfect these projects? Do you end up buying a gun or looking up an image?
Oh yeah, I look up images. I have plenty of books on guns. A lot of books on guns, images.
Do you have a gun?
No,
No.
no. I'm afraid of guns. Yeah. That's dealing with my fear. Yeah, I have a few guns in my studio. I have toy guns. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see dimensions, and the guns look fairly large. How big are they approximately?
Um, they run from like 28 inches long from the butt to the end of the barrel. Uh, 35 inches long. I've even, like I said, I made one that's 6, 7 feet. But that's a floor piece. And so, yeah.
So basically,
it changes. It depends on the gun, you know.
Right. What makes you realize what your creative style was? What was that aha moment? Like, when did you realize your creative avenue? Because, I mean, when we did the interview, when we were talking about it, I mean, you wanted to be an architect,
yeah.
And then graphic designer. What was it that you went, okay, this is me. This is what I want to do.
When I learned I couldn't paint.
Or you didn't want to paint.
I wanted to be a painter.
Yeah.
And I think I could have developed a style and, you know, learned the different techniques.
Right.
But it just didn't have, to me, it didn't have substance. It just, the way I saw it, I didn't bring anything to that medium. Like, what could I bring to painting that other people haven't done?
Right.
And I was like, I can't, I don't know what I can do. I can't, you know?
Yeah.
I don't have that creative part in me in the painting area.
Right.
Now, there are people that still bring, you know, value to the medium, but I couldn't do it.
Right.
And so I started doing something different, you know? And that's another thing. It's hard not to follow other people. It's very hard to do. So that's why you gotta either stumble across something, have an idea. It's just hard because
So how long ago would you say? How long ago would you say that you kind of went, all right, well, I'm not going to be a painter. What am I going to do? And then you found something, and you're like, you know what? I just want to be creative. I want to experiment, because honestly, that's what it sounds like. You know, you're not really pushing any medium to the limit. You're experimenting. You're finding your avenue, whether that's cut paper, found objects, cardboard, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, you're experimenting. You're kind of reaching that point, and then you kind of start thinking of other things. Now you're thinking about writing, doing short stories, that type of thing. So what was that?
Yeah, I can't stay in one medium.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when I was making the cardboard, I was doing the 3-dimensional mask.
Right.
I'm like, I got to a point where the process, I'm like, I know the process, I can just do this. It's like one of the things, like somebody asks you, can you do this? Like, yeah, I can do that, you know?
Yeah.
I was to the point where it was like,
it wasn't
I can do this.
There was no struggle. There was no...
Yeah, it wasn't at all. Like, I could do it. If I saw a mask, I'm like one I was going to model from.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, I can do that. You know? It got to a point like, okay, it's time to move on.
Right.
You know? And then that's when I started doing the they're 2-dimensional, the portraits. And so I moved on to that. And that took a while. And then I figured that out. Okay, that process was worthy. I enjoyed it, and it was time for something new. Like when I went to get my MFA, I submitted just that cardboard work, and I got to school like the first day or week or whatever it was, and I knew when I got there that I wasn't gonna do that again. I was like, I already did it, so why would I come to school and redo the same thing I'm doing? Why would I go to school to do the same thing?
Right.
And that's another thing. Like I tell students to, like when we used to have these critiques, and I would tell people get upset, but they were doing the same work that they came in with their portfolio. Like you still painting, you're not doing anything different.
Right.
So of course it's gonna hurt when somebody gives you that critique. That's gonna be like there are sometimes people crying.
Brutal.
What I went about it was, if you do something you have never done before, the critique is valuable.
Right.
You never done, and you're not bitter about it because you're like, I've never done this before.
Right. You're just trying to learn. So any help?
I think a lot of the students at the time were trying to just get praises. Right. I wasn't trying to get praises. I was trying to do something different.
Right.
It didn't hurt me. I think one time I got a little upset, but it was like for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because it was something I never did before.
Right.
And like, okay, you think it's not, you think it sucks? Okay. Well, maybe it does. I don't know.
Right.
And so everything I did was all new.
Right.
Everything. Every time we had to submit, it was something new. It went from a gun to a ray gun, even though they were similar. And like I did padlocks. But the one thing that really, I got to a point I was like, yeah, I'm loving this. The ray gun, because I love science fiction.
Right.
And I never thought to kind of incorporate science fiction with what I did. And that was where I could. I was like, okay.
So
I didn't know if I could make a ray gun. And that's probably my most cherished piece. It wasn't great, but it got, good
responses.
Yes. Yeah, it got good responses, and I won an award with that at the sculpture center.
Really?
Yeah, and if I look at that piece now, I'm like, oh man, that was terrible. But the idea and me creating it was great, but the piece compared to what I do to other pieces, I'm like, goodness, I could have did better than that. I didn't have a clue of what I was doing.
Okay.
I did not have a clue.
All right, next question. You said you tried to make sculptures with found objects. Were you ever interested in or inspired by ready-made of the Dada movement?
No, not really. My movements are, I love pop art.
Yeah.
Yeah, pop art is.
I see that in your work. I see that in your work, especially the guns. Yeah. Well, actually, even the cardboard. It definitely is pop art.
And yeah, pop art, and I like street art.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I am personally interested in going to graduate school myself. How did taking this step in your career help develop your work further?
That's when I started reading.
Started reading?
Reading books, not art books, just books about like ideas. I started reading for my grad school. You had to have these. You could pick any book you wanted to read, but it was more than one book. I had no idea after I left the first residency what I was going to read. And I was in the airport, and I looked in like a Rolling Stone or something. It had an article of the writer Ta-Nehisi Coates.
I don't know who that
And
is.
he wrote a book called Between the World and Me. But he based his book off of James Baldwin's The Fire Next Time. And I said, well, I'm going to read his book. But I didn't want to read his book without reading The Fire Next Time. So as soon as I got home, I ordered The Fire Next Time, and I read that book. And then I read Coates' book. And I just kept reading. And then it kind of shapes your creative process.
It does.
Just read. I mean, most of the stuff I read is nonfiction. But yeah, I was just reading. I just started reading all kind of. And then in grad school, they were telling me all these, ideas and philosophy. So I just research it and read a book about it. I read so many books.
Right.
That it was crazy.
Well, the thing about grad school, at least for me, was it didn't really make my art any better. But what it did is it kind of focused me in a direction. It gave me some different avenues. I opened my mind up to different things, and
Exactly.
it allowed
That's
me.
That's exactly what it does.
Yeah.
Now, if you go to grad school thing, you're going to learn technique and
right. You're going to be a better painter or something. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And what it helps you do is be the best you can be.
Right.
That's what it helps you do.
Right.
It's not about what you're doing, because you're probably going to, kind of do the same thing. Well, like I said, I didn't do the same thing at all.
Right.
But I'm a person that moves from medium to medium. So, but like I say, like the guns, I didn't have a reason for those guns until like things were happening. I was reading these books, and then I was like, okay, now is the moment,
right,
to do it. And so I know that kind of contradicts me from saying, I make a portrait of a person who's in the moment, like
right.
everybody's thinking about that person.
Right.
But it was kind of an indirect way of doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, grad school, it helps you, but it doesn't help you like learn how to draw.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't do that.
Well, I mean, one of the big things about grad school is just more art history. Like in undergrad, I had, I think, 3 art history courses, and then in grad school, I had like 4 more art history courses. I mean, it was basically, and then we had an aesthetics course. It was basically about art. It was understanding art at a different level.
Yeah, on the intellectual level.
Right.
I learned about. I mean, I was in grad school and people were talking about, oh, this artist, this artist. I'm like, no. And I felt bad. I'm like, man, I'm calling myself an artist and I don't know this person. I don't know this person.
Well, I mean, we all specialize. Like, I'll talk about graphic designers like David Carson and, fine art, somebody going for an MFA in the area of fine arts doesn't know what I'm talking about, doesn't make them, less or me more just because I know who somebody else is. Would you consider doing any graphic design work for a living? I know the answer to this.
No.
I knew it. I knew that was coming.
I consider doing graphic design, but not for no. I love graphic design, but I mean, I don't do it that great. I'm not good at it, but I understand it.
Yeah.
Like when I see a good, I know when I see something that's good in graphic design. I'm not one of those people like, oh, I like that. Oh, because it has blue and red in it, and I like, I understand graphic. I understand the process. Not so much as like you, but I understand. I know when I see good graphic design.
Right. Well, I mean, it's art. It's like
Right.
I'm not a fine artist, but I can tell good art, good sculpture, good paintings.
Yeah.
I can look at that even though I can't do it and I've never practiced and I'm not into that.
Yeah. Like I truly believe graphic design is art.
Oh,
some people don't.
It absolutely
is. It is art. Yeah.
It absolutely is. And one of the problems we have is convincing people that you have to be an artist to be a good graphic designer. A lot of people think all I have to do is be good at computer software, or and they have this idea that it's so easy. I just have to learn the technical, and it's no. It's just like a painting. You have to learn all the different nuances of painting something to be.
That's what I meant about painting. Like I know I could learn the technique, the process. But that doesn't make me a good painter.
Right.
I wouldn't have. Yeah.
Right.
I had no value towards the medium. I would have did it injustice. Yeah.
All right. These are a couple of good questions here. Well, some of them, the other ones were good too. But do you have a favorite piece of your own artwork? And if so, which one and why? Did you keep it or did you sell it?
No, it's that ray gun, my first ray gun. And the thing, one thing is so special is because even though I was making guns, that was my first ray gun, and it turned out pretty decent, even though it had flaws in it.
Yeah.
But it turned out my first attempt at creating a ray gun was pretty good. I mean, but I had the experience of creating like revolvers and other type of guns.
Right.
So I knew the process, I knew the technique a little bit. But I had to adjust. But that ray gun is special. Yes, and I still have it.
You still have it?
It's in a crate, but I don't look at it or anything. But yeah.
Okay. When you were dumpster diving or thrift shopping for materials, did you already have in mind what you are wanting to create, or are you just simply gathering materials? Do you visualize what the piece will look like when you are searching for materials, and what is going through your head when you find the perfect treasure for your art?
99% of the time, no, I don't know.
It's basically just collecting, right?
I just go and look, and sometimes I just think something is cool, and I just buy it without an idea, and it might sit for years,
Right.
Yeah, I don't go looking for specific things.
Okay, that's it for the questions. I think that's everything. That was a lot. That took quite a while. I
really good question.
All right, Corey, I appreciate you taking the time and answering these questions. I didn't expect it to go as long as it did. I think we went for at least an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes or so. But I appreciate you taking the time. I mean, it is Saturday. So thank you on behalf of my students and myself. And I will send you a link to this video as well, just in case you want to share it with anyone. All right?
No problem.
Okay.
If you have any more questions?
Do you would you, if a student was interested in like contacting you just to, maybe a side thing, maybe they were interested in just, finding out your opinion on something. I think it's always helpful if students have access to working artists. Now, I know you don't spend all your time as an artist. You are teaching as well. But the fact that you have had shows, that you are creating, I think it's an important step. And some students might be interested in just, maybe even having you critique their work. Would you be willing?
Yeah, you send the email, give them my email. They can send the email.
Okay.
Yeah. They can call. I don't really mind that stuff,
Okay. Sounds good. All right. Thanks. Okay. Thanks a lot, Corey. I appreciate it.
All righty.